How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, man? Trying to it's been raining like nonstop out here in LA the past month,
Oh,
so very
yeah.
wet.
Sunny weather here in Arizona.
Oh, you're in Arizona, right on then. Which
Yeah.
area?
Maybe.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So start with like the basics. When did you pick up the guitar or whatever instrument you picked up first?
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, like ever since I can remember, when I was 4 years old, I was like huge into Kiss, Gene Simmons, just the whole shit, them looking like superheroes and everything. So I mean, I've always been into music. So, but usually when I first actually pick up guitar for real was like 8 years old, and I was practicing. I wasn't practicing enough. It's kind of a waste of money for my parents. So put it down, and I picked it back up again at 10, and then that was that's really kind of where I started, really taking it seriously, I suppose. So about
Yeah.
10 years old.
Oh wow, that's young. Who was like your major influence for playing the guitar? I mean, you mentioned Kiss, but
Yeah. Kiss was when I was a kid. I still love them now, but like for the main one, Angus Young was the first guy, Aid from AC/DC. For sure, the first guy that for like lead guitar playing I really loved. And then I went from him to Slash, and then like from Slash it was kind of a lot of the various thrash metal kind of dudes. And then but it was like when I discovered Yngwie Malmsteen, I think it was like 13 or 14, and that was like a total game changer as far as it was like lock yourself in your room for hours upon hours a day and just try to figure out what the hell this guy's doing, because that was like the sound I always loved, was that neoclassical type of lead guitar playing. So he was the one that really like kind of changed my ways of how I wanted to play guitar.
yeah, I think we're all kind of blown away with your Yngwie for the first. Like,
Yeah, it's a cool moment when you can remember like first time ever hearing him, and it's kind of shady to me the first time I actually did hear him. I think it might have been like I think a friend of mine had like a copy of Rising Force, and it was just randomly played, and I had no idea what it was. I just kept on. I didn't have YouTube at that point, so I was like, you couldn't really. You're just kind of hoping you would hear it again, at some point in time. And then I got the G3 live in Denver, and like Yngwie's on there, and like the first thing he does, it's like, fuck, that's that song, that's the thing. So it was like, this is the guy, man. So yeah, it was one of those moments where it's like, you get chills, just first time you hear it, you're just, especially you're for the first time, you're just like, what a guitar can sound like that,
Yeah. No, with bands, I know you're playing in Witherfall and Iced Earth as of the recent years.
Yeah.
Have you played in much other bands, or did you have a bigger band?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, in high school, I had high school bands and that sort of thing. But then when I moved out to LA, I got hooked up with a band called White Wizard and was with them for a little bit. And then I did some session work with a band called Cobra and the Lotus, did some touring. We went out with like Kiss and Def Leppard, and then I did an album with them. So but that was more session stuff. But like my main bands have been Witherfall is like that's my own band, along with my singer Joseph Michael. That's him and I's like vision and everything like that. And then Iced Earth, of course, is they're just the legendary act. So it's and it's so yeah. I've been with Iced Earth. I think I was just thinking about this. I think it was like since into 2016 or something like that was when we did our tour together.
Yeah, and what's it like to join such a legendary band? Like, how did you land that gig?
Okay, yeah. So when I was in 2000, when I was playing with White Wizard, we did a tour with them in 2011, and it was fucking terrible. Like the band that was, we didn't know how to tour or anything like that. It was very embarrassing, and so and then, but I kind of knew John a little bit, and when he had come out to the other band I was in, we were doing a show with Kiss down in Florida at the time, Tampa, and he's a big Kiss fan, so he came out to that, and then and someone told me that Troy, the guitar player from Iced Earth, decided to leave, so they needed someone. So I just sent an email to John and was like, hey, I don't know if you remember who I am, but I don't have anything going on right now, and if you need something, let me know. And he got back, and I had to do the whole audition process of doing videos, learning the tunes, and then that was like during the pre-production of Incorruptible when they were first, they were still out there writing. I remember when I went out to audition properly, and went out there. I did a couple of put some leads down on a few of the pre-production tracks, and then he was like, hey, if you want the gig, you got it. So that's kind of how that went about.
Yeah, was it difficult to learn all those old Iced Earth songs and all the new ones?
The difficult part about learning massive, because I'm doing one right now. I'm learning a bunch of songs for a tour in the summertime. Really the hard part about that is just you have to live with the music. It's it's just constantly having to have it on, because when it comes time to, you need to know every single part. You can't really fully execute something at the level it needs to be if you're guessing oh shit, is this, what verse am I in, is what's coming up next. So the main thing is and that just takes time, so when I think I had about a month to learn 20 something songs, a 2-hour set. And so it's just constantly having to do that, listen to it, and then of course learning the music. And I mean, certainly the hard part about Iced Earth though is John's rhythm guitar playing on there. It's you have to you have to really build up to that, because it's a lot of stamina, especially some of those earlier cuts from Night of the Storm Rider and some of the earlier stuff that they got going on is very demanding on the right hand. So that was that. But mainly my whole goal was I wanted to go to that. We had 2 rehearsals right before we did we did Grease, which Grease for Iced Earth is it's massive over there. It's amazing. So I wanted to go to those rehearsals and be I was ready for the show. And so it was just no excuses. You got to do whatever you can do just to get everything down. So, and at that point, it's also memory retention, because those first few shows, I'm sure if you talk to anybody that's had to do something like that, it's you're going to forget some shit, because it's just, you're in the moment, it's your first show. So you're kind of just want to get it over with. And then, but at the same time, it's, you're excited. So there's other elements that come into play. So yeah, you're bound to fuck up a few things, So having,
You guys are in the writing process of a new Iced Earth album, aren't you?
No. Demons and Wizards is going on right now. So that's what's. Yeah. Yep. So, and that's a few guys from Iced Earth that are going to be in that, and then Blind Guardian. So, they're pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Any plans to release an Iced Earth album anytime soon?
With Iced Earth, I mean, there's definitely going to be another Iced Earth record, but I think right now John's concentrating 100% on Demons and Wizards. So we have this tour coming up in Europe. It's it's all over Europe. It's all the festivals and all that stuff, and then and they're working on a new record right now, actually. So
yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And, that kind of give you a nice break to work on the stuff with Witherfall and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working on actually I leave on Friday, as a few days from now, we're going to I fly to Oslo, Norway to kick off we're doing a tour out there in Europe for about a month or so with Sonata Arctica. So it's so I leave then on Friday, and then we do that run, then we come back and we head off to Germany again for a festival, Keep It True, out there, and that's at the very end of April, I think. It's sometime around then. Yeah.
So with Witherfall, what is probably the main inspirations for writing in that tone? Because I only discovered it probably about a month or two ago. But you do all the 7-string stuff. It kind of gave me vibes from stuff like Nevermore and that older kind of metal.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not really one influence, With Witherfall was kind of when Joseph and I came up with it. We were tired of being kind of in bands that were pigeonholed to oh, we have to do this sort of thing. And it's like, you know, I love listening, and so does Joseph. We listen to a ton of different types of music. So we wanted to be kind of like how Queen kind of is, you know, or Queen's like if you put on one song, you know, it's not gonna. If you were to put on one song by Queen and then put on, like, if you were to put like Bohemian Rhapsody on and then You're My Best Friend or something like that, you'd be like, these sound like two totally different bands, you know. And that was kind of the goal because they didn't really ever give themselves. They had like creative freedom all over the place, so you never felt like stuff was written down. But with that said, yeah, I mean bands like Nevermore, Dream Theater, um, like I of course Ingve, like Cacophony, just for the guitar aspect and that stuff. I also love a lot of like the last two records of Death, Sound of Perseverance and Symbolic. Um, uh, Shit, what else as far as heavy metal bands? I mean, just more stuff like that. It's actually like Alice in Chains a lot too. Just a lot of the whole wanted something dark, you know, like it's just a constant kind of dark vibe to it. Typo Negative, so. And then, but on the other end, there's a lot of classical influences in there as well. Like, I'm a huge fan of like the Romantic era stuff, like Chopin, and I know Joseph's a big Mozart fan. So, but we're always kind of thinking about that too, as well as like counterpoint and like just different like the chordal harmony, like what makes something really interesting sounding. And then also, like we're doing this acoustic tour, so I mean, I love like Al Di Meola. He's a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of him. Paco de Lucía, and so yeah. Again, like it's all over the place as far as different influences.
Yeah. In your opinion, you think that gives you a better sound in for heavy metal when you listen to all these different genres that are nothing?
Oh yeah, well totally. Because I mean, if you were just to listen to, you know, Pantera, and that's all you listen to, and that's all the guys in your band listen to, you're gonna sound like Pantera. You know, it's not really original. You know, so it's yeah, I totally 100% think that that's the best thing you can do. It's just, and you can get some really cool outside influences. You know, like Pink Floyd. Like I love Pink Floyd, and a lot of that stuff you can use to like just to build atmosphere and all that kind of stuff that you have in music. I mean, same thing with like classical music. Like it's you take that, it's so easy to like a violin piece can easily be put on the guitar. I mean, it's gonna be difficult, but it can. It's all you can transfer that stuff very quickly, and it's gonna have a different sound. It's gonna make it sound a little bit different, a little bit more original. Our bassist Anthony Crawford, he comes from like a R&B and like jazz fusion background too, so it has that element, you know, which is it's just something that's different, you know. It's not like the normal heavy metal type of sound, which is there's I mean, fuck, there's so many bands out there that are already doing that, you know, and bands that are out there that are doing it well too, you know. So yeah, just something new.
And you guys with Witherfall, you recently covered "Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty. What made you want to that song?
Well, that was I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, and that was really just sometimes Joseph and I, when we're writing, we're we'll just fuck around with different types of songs, and one day I think we were just playing that one, but then we were finishing up the pre-production for A Prelude to Sorrow, and it was late at night, and I just started doing it. I reharmonized it though in a way that it's much darker sounding, and then Joseph put down his vocal arrangement to it, and we kind of just made it. It was kind of a fun thing just to do at the beginning, just to see like, oh, how dark can we make this song sound? Because it's it's a pretty fun song when you listen to the original version of it, and we completely slowed it down, and that was kind of our goal, was make it a little bit more dark and Witherfall-y sounding. That was really it, and it was originally going to be on, because when you do, like, as you know, you have to have B-sides and like bonus tracks for like different markets, like in Japan, for instance. We needed to have that, so it was just something that we're like, okay, well, let's record it, and see. And So yeah, we just put it out in the vintage EP.
Nice. And what kind of gear are you using?
I'm using so for Witherfall, it's Jackson Custom Shop KV7, and it's like it's in like this hideously beautiful purple color. It's
Oh,
like
that's
purple,
amazing.
yeah, purple quilt. And then for amps, I'm using Bogner Ecstasy Live for that. Um, Pedal wise, it's very simple. It's just like it's basically just a chorus and a chorus and a delay that's on at the same time for like this clean sounds, just to kind of give it a little bit of wetness, and then a compressor, and a tuner, of course. That's it totally, just for it. It's super bare bones. And then for Iced Earth, it's pretty much the same thing as far as the pedal goes. But then guitars, I use Charvel for there. So I use the Guthrie Govan, whatever his signature model is called. Um, it's a great guitar. And then a Jackson V too as a backup, and I'll bring it out for different tunes if I need to. And usually with that, depending on what market we're in, if it's like in the States, I was using Soldano SLO 100, and then and like Europe, it's usually like the EVH3s that we're given. And that just comes down to when you're out there touring, it's rented gear, and sometimes like fly dates and shit like that. If you're flying into a place, and you don't want to be lugging around, entire head case, So
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, pretty much the same stuff. It's super, super bare bones and super simple because I don't really believe in hiding around. It's like if you fuck up, you just gotta practice more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you speaking more of fans, do you tend to watch a lot of fan covers, or do you like to see those on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that's actually to me like one of the biggest forms of flattery, because it's like someone took a lot of time into transcribing what it is, and then taking the time to practice it, and film it. So to me, I love it. I think that actually is what kind of makes me like, when I see something, like I'd rather see that in a good review, because it's like that person really did actually like what they were hearing and wanted to play it. So it kind of reminds me of when I was a kid doing Yngwie Malmsteen or Jason Becker or something like that, and transcribing everything out. So yeah, I love that stuff. I think it's great.
And what advice would you give to anyone playing the guitar, or starting out, or even if they're intermediate? Or
Oh, for like technique stuff, or just for like for
uh,
career?
kind of advice?
Yeah, I mean technique stuff. I mean, there's still every day, like I practice, and every day I still find stuff that's new, and there's still so much shit to work on and everything. So I actually think that one of the best things you can do is reading music, like actual notation, rather than like tablature. Um, Also using your ear, and those two kind of go hand in hand in a weird way. I found some people may argue that, but like as far as reading notation and judging with your ear and stuff like that really helps me out. And especially if you're getting into a band where you have to learn, a 2 hour set, a lot of the time it's, you don't want to ask the main guy, like, hey, do you have tabs for that? It's kind of seems like, it's like you're automatically an amateur at that point, so you got to like really hear all the nuances. And of course, basic shit like using a metronome, and starting off really slow, and really like going for, and I totally get it too, because everybody wants to be like, have the ego and be like, oh, I wanna bump this up to the tempo that it should be at. But really, it's the best progress I've seen is like if you're like working like an alternate picking pattern, is to slow it down, really make sure you're not rushing or anything like that, and how it feels. Does it feel smooth to you? Do you feel confident with it? And then and one thing I could do, especially for alternate picking, is, so say if you're doing a pattern, you're starting on like a downstroke. I like to start on the upstroke, because you got to be able to pick in both directions. Is one thing I've found. So that's advice with with technique and that sort of thing. For career stuff, I don't know, just like you have to put yourself out there in a way, but with quality, and not and like I don't know, just you also have this thing, man. It's 70% of it is not being a dick and not being like an asshole on the road, because no one's gonna want to work with you if you're on a bus for 3 months and you're just this horrible entity that nobody wants to be around. You're gonna get. It doesn't matter how badass of a player you are. Like you're never gonna get any work. So it's having that mentality too. Like and honestly, when it comes to gigging, that's totally, if you got the chops and everything like that, you'll be able to play the stuff. But just also knowing like it's the job where you have to be business smart in a way too. Be able to write emails, be able to be able to get stuff done is pretty much it.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, that pretty much wraps things up.
Cool. All right, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, no problem, man. Hey, thanks for deciding to do it, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.